Hello everyone. The following content is based on people's personal experiences, whether it is paranormal or just plain scary. If this is something that you guys like, make sure to hit the notification button for more stories. Now, on to the stories. This story is by a Facebook user named Rachel. When my nana passed in 2010, it was in New Zealand, and I kept hearing voices singing. It got louder, and then my phone rang. It was my brother telling me he was getting to pick me and my older brother up to the hospital my nana was passing. So I got up to get my brother up. He had the same voices singing, but it was male. I had female a few years later. I got told it was my nana saying goodbye. That day I thought it was my flatmate singing, but no one was home except me and my brother. This is a story written by a Reddit user called Slowmender4910. The person titled it True Story from a few years back. About 3 years ago, when I was 14, me and an old friend from up the country were in my kitchen downstairs, completely home alone, no one else in the house, with the TV on in the background, and we're playing with his trainer butterfly knife. It's blunt if you didn't know. And upstairs on a wooden ledge of my bed there was a thick glass mug, about half full, and had a very strong, thick, pretty much wooden straw. And it falls, and we hear a loud ass bang, followed with a second bang. When we check it out, the glass had been flung to the floor and far across the room. But the scary bit is the straw. Even if it broke on impact, that's not it. It was torn to pieces, like almost chewed to pieces. Now, before you ask, yes, I do have a cat and a dog, but they were both in the kitchen with us, and it could not have fallen in the first place, since there was no draft. Door was closed and windows were closed as well. No way, it could have possibly just fallen over, and to this day I have no explanation. Nothing like this has happened ever since, and I hope nothing like that happens again. Before you ask, this is completely 100% real. Whether you choose to believe this is up to you. Oh, and please mind the lack of grammar, I have problems with that. Post what you think it could have been. I'm interested to hear what it could have been. This is a story written by a Reddit user called Moonchild. Alright, here I go. This happened in my old house when I was 6, 7, 8 or 9, I can't remember. Everyone was asleep. I always sleep with a blanket on, even when it's hot. We didn't have light in our room except for the moonlight through our window. I couldn't sleep that day, not sure why. Maybe since it was hot and had my blanket on, but I was used to it, so I'm not sure. I'm blind, so I needed glasses, but didn't have them yet. I kept turning and turning, but nothing helped. I decided to stare at the window, hoping to get bored and fall asleep. I was going to get up from my bed, but I see a figure at the end of the bed. This happened often. Sometimes it was just my eyes adjusting and there was nothing there, so I would ignore it, but since I was the only one awake, I was a bit scared. I decided to not get up and just lay in my bed, hoping I would just fall asleep. I laid there for some time and it was getting pretty hot. I look up again and I see something on my legs. The moonlight helped outline its figure. It was in a crawl-like position and staring at me. I was scared. I kept on looking at it. It wouldn't go away. I started panicking, wondering what to do. Maybe wake my sister up. Who was next to me? Yell for my parents? Interact with it? Start screaming? But what if it could hurt my sister? My parents' room is a bit far from my room. Would they hear me? Even if they did, could the thing hurt my parents? I asked these questions and more to myself for a long time. I couldn't figure out what to do. I started sweating. I looked up again. It was closer. I turned and turned again, but it didn't help. I looked up. It was still staring at me. I had asthma and it was getting hard to breathe. I was afraid that if I looked at it more, it would be much closer. I just laid there in silence, sweating under my blanket, trying to control my breathing. I'm not sure how I managed to fall asleep that day, but once I woke up, I didn't tell anyone or my family. I was sure if I did, they would not believe me. Maybe tell me you were dreaming. It was your imagination, or that I was just making it up. So yeah, that's it. Sorry if it wasn't interesting, and thanks for listening. This story is written by a Reddit user named Shy02062019. The title is I Swear Something or Someone Was Up There With Me. Okay, so I used to live with my great-grandmother in her house. We lived there with her for about a year because we were taking care of her. She's 93 years old and has Alzheimer's. Her house is very old, like built in 1932. So that house has always been creepy to me, especially the upstairs living room. My parents had converted it into a living room before it used to be a bedroom. One time I was home alone and I was watching TV upstairs, and out of nowhere I heard whispers, and I ignored it because I thought maybe a window was open and it could be the neighbours. This house was in a town, so the houses were very close, and my neighbours liked to be outside. Then I heard it again, but louder, and then I realised they were coming from a dormer. Dormers are like little rooms in old houses that are basically attics. And I heard this child, I swear to God, clear as day. It said, "You shouldn't be alone, bad things happen." I heard that and booked it down the stairs into my room and stayed inside until dinner time. I still haven't gone upstairs since then when I'm home alone. I can't explain it. I don't care if no one believes me that I heard that. I swear to God, there was something up there with me. This story is written by a Reddit user named Zay Loves to Draw. Okay, I'm going to tell you about a death of a family member, so if you are sensitive, you don't have to listen to this. Anyways, I remember playing video games when I was told the news. My auntie had been trying to get in contact with my family all day, except our home phone. This was a while ago, no mobile phones yet. Our home phone kept declining her. It never rang for us. She eventually burst into our home crying and told us what had happened. My cousin had went to a church trip for food and a quick dip, except it seemed that he had drowned while he was there, and only one person was present when it occurred. It was ruled an accidental death, but since my cousin was an upcoming rapper, and the one friend that was near him when he drowned was very jealous of him, our family came up with the theory that he had done it, which he years later actually bragged about while he was in jail, and the news got back to my auntie, who was devastated. Anyways, after she told us how she had been trying to get in contact with us, but it kept declining her by itself, I decided that the phone was broken and we needed another one, so I took it out of its socket and left it under the table so no one would get the urge to use it. Later on, we received the news that my uncle had gotten a call from my cousin who had died. The creepy thing was, at the time, he called my uncle. He was already ruled dead by the authorities and the autopsy. It was weird, but we just thought of it as a phone messing up. A week later, my parents were arguing about something stupid, and then my mom began talking about my cousin. Out of the blue, we heard a phone ringing. It was only me, my mom, dad, and sister in the house. We all stared at each other, wondering where the ringing was coming from, because we didn't have a phone. Then I realised it was coming from under the table. I got shocked along with the rest of my family. I was the smallest, so I ducked under the table and brought it out. It was still ringing when I brought it out. However, after it was confirmed to be ringing, by my mum and dad said that it was our cousin trying to say goodbye. How could the thing be ringing when it wasn't hooked up to have an electrical current? I took the phone off the hook and gave it to my dad because my mum was too freaked out to hear what could have been said to her through the phone. My dad said hello, but there was no answer. We put it back down on the holder. Then I decided to take the batteries out because I was too scared to see past what was actually happening. But my cousin always felt near after his death. We would talk about him and things would fall or move. He sometimes would knock on my mum's door when it was just me and her in the home alone. The bathroom air conditioner would come on when you said his name in the bathroom. It stopped after a while, but it was crazy, and it honestly felt great to have feedback from our cousin we thought we had lost. My auntie loved it when things like that would occur, because she said it was a sign that her son was still around. This is a story written by a Reddit user named WriterDude92. The title is Bus Stop Creep. When I was a 17-year-old senior in high school, I was in my school music department's auditioned women's choir. It wasn't for another couple of years that I would realise I was a trans demi-boy, but that's beside the point. One day I rushed home to have dinner with my mom before going back to the school. For context, I got home around 3:30, 3:45 and had to be back at school by 6. So I would usually take the bus that got me to the school around 5:30 so that I would have time to go to the bathroom, grab some water and relax for a few minutes before I walked into a rehearsal with several girls who were popular, snooty and loved to mock me every chance they got, which is also beside the point, except to say that it put me in a less than perfectly at ease kind of mental state for the night. There was a bus stop diagonally across the intersection from my small 3-story apartment building that I would usually wait at to catch a bus to the station, where I would pick up the bus to the school. I had only been standing there for about a minute when this guy, who looked to be about 45 or 55, I'll call him Dave just to have something to call him, even though I don't know what his name actually was. I got a bit of a creepy vibe from him from the start. But I tried to be polite, being the naive 17-year-old I was, and hoping that I was just being paranoid. Dave takes another step or two closer to me and starts asking me personal questions like what my name was, my age, what school I went to, etc. You know, things that someone who is closer to retirement than they are to high school should not be asking or saying to a minor, even one who is 17. He continued to talk to me until the bus arrived, while I gave him shorter and shorter responses to his questions and tried to make it clear that I wasn't interested in or continuing the conversation any further. I got on the bus and, to my disappointment, but certainly not a surprise, he followed suit, sitting in the front-facing seat directly behind me. The entire way to the bus station he kept whispering in my ear about how sexy I was, what great eyes I had, etc. I tried to ignore him and put my earbuds in my ears. He pulled my earbud out of my left ear, the one closer to the window, and most likely out of the driver's view in the mirror. He leaned forward and got his mouth so close to my ear that I could feel his breath as he spoke. "You would look beautiful all stretched out and used on my bed. Yeah, that'd be good. Sexy look for you." This is the only thing he said where I can remember an exact quote. Even now, a decade later, I can still sometimes feel his breath on my ear. I just hope that one day I'll stop feeling that same sketched out skin is crawling feeling whenever I see anyone who looks even remotely like him. Bus stop guy, let's not meet, like, ever. In fact, you should probably meet a psychiatrist or jail cell.